everyone, what's up? My name is Joss and welcome back to my channel, squibblesreads. God, it still feels so weird saying that. If you missed my last video and the YouTube algorithm is still being really mean to me, I am tentatively back to booktube right now. I'm trying to film again on Monday and Thursday, and honestly, I just really want to say thank you to you guys. I was not expecting such an overwhelming amount of kind, nice, sweet comments on my last video. I was completely overwhelmed by the love and the support that you guys gave me, so I just wanted to say thank you. I am still replying to comments on that video that I posted on Tuesday, so if I've not gotten back to you, I will definitely get caught up with that very soon. But today I'm going to be showing you guys a big collective book haul. I did a poll on Twitter really fast this morning before I started filming, and I was like, what would you guys like to see? There was a TBR, there was like a July wrap-up, and then this book haul, and it was really even, but I think you guys voted a little teeny bit more for this book haul. So this is going to be a haul of about 20 books. There are some books that I borrowed from the library, some books that I did purchase myself when I went down to LA, and then one book that I borrowed from my friend, and then some books that were sent to me by publishers over the last little while that I wasn't on booktube. So yeah, I do have about 20 books to show you guys, so it's gonna be a long haul. So get comfy, get a snack, get a beverage, adult beverage or non-adult beverage, and let's just get started. Okay, so the first book that I have to show you guys is called No One Can Pronounce My Name by Rakesh Satyal, and this is about a community of Indian American people who live in a suburb that's just outside of Cleveland. So we have one man, and his name is Harit. He's in his mid-40s and he is an immigrant, and his mom is taking the death of his sister really difficult. She's just having a lot of trouble coping. And then also we have another Indian American woman. Her name is Ranjana. She's also in her mid-40s and she has just sent her son off to college, and she is coping with that emotional difficulty by writing paranormal romance novels, and somehow their paths cross and the novel takes it from there. Next, I also borrowed a book called Blood Wedding by Pierre Lemaitre. God, that's terrible. Clearly not all Canadians learn how to speak French, but he is originally an author that was from France, and this is a translated work. The blurb doesn't say very much about it, but I heard good reviews about this from Abby from Crime by the Book on Instagram. And this is about a woman named Sophie, and she is taking care of a boy, and when she wakes up, she has no memory, but she does find that the boy that she's taking care of has passed away. She starts a new life with a new identity with a man that she's met online. It honestly sounds a little bit generic for a thriller, but I do trust Abby, so I picked this one up when I saw it. Next, I have Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson, and look, it is a signed first edition. So this book follows an African-American girl named August who has grown up in Brooklyn. I believe she has some daughters, and I think that she is reminiscing on her time growing up, so her time growing up when she felt in danger, but also how she found safety. This is my second time borrowing this book because I did not get to it the first time that I borrowed it, but I've heard really good things about this author, and I've never read anything from her before. The next book is one of my most anticipated releases. This is called Everything Belongs to Us by Eugen Grace Wirtz. And I'm trying really hard to not have my ring light reflect on the books. I really apologize if it is. But this one is also a super me type of book. So it's set in 1978 in Seoul in South Korea, and during this time there is a lot of protests that happen by a group of women that works in factories, and they're just protesting oppressive conditions, low pay, all of that stuff. These protests do happen pretty often, and the government is trying to keep them quiet. We also meet one boy and his friend or mentor who's about a year older than him, and his mentor is part of this elite social circle at the university that they're going to. We also meet two women who are part of these protests. One of them is from a richer background, and the other one is a little bit less well off, and somehow their stories all entwine together. I have started this book. It is really well written. It's really detailed in everything that's going on, so I get a really good sense of the setting and everything, the backdrop that they're set against, so I'm really looking forward to finishing this one. Next, we have The Refugees by Viet Thanh Nguyen, and you guys might have heard about this book because he also wrote a really well-known novel called The Sympathizer, but this is a collection of vignettes that go through the lives of a whole bunch of different people who do have refugee or immigrant status. For example, one of them is a woman whose husband has dementia and keeps mistaking her for a former lover of his. There's also the story of a young Vietnamese refugee who moves to San Francisco and experiences some culture shock because he is moving in with two gay men. Next, we have a book of poetry, and over the time that I've been away from BookTube, I have started reading some more poetry. That does not mean that I know how to critique it, because I honestly don't, because I think poetry is like a really personal thing to the author, or the poet, I guess. But this was a collection that was recommended to me. It's called Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. I honestly don't really know what it's about, and the blurb is pretty vague, but hopefully I can get into this one. I also borrowed Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day by Seanan McGuire, and this is a novella about Jenna, and Jenna is a ghost, and she has really taken on a lot of guilt because her sister Patty died by suicide, so she is now working at a suicide hotline because she feels this incredible amount of guilt. She also can make people younger, but in turn, she herself gets older. Okay, so that's all the books that I have that are borrowed from the library right now. We have one more book that I borrowed, and this is a book that I borrowed from a friend because she really wanted me to read it. And Taylor Jenkins Reid, this is Taylor Jenkins Reid's newest book. I've always really enjoyed her contemporaries, and I think she's super underrated here on BookTube. I hardly ever hear anyone talk about her. But this is her newest book. It's called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it does still have the Target sticker on it, and I'm not going to touch it because it's not my book, and I hate when people do things to my book that I don't want them to do. But anyways, okay, so we open the story with this journalist named Monique, and Monique is a biracial girl. She's newly divorced, and again, she works at a magazine. And then we also have Evelyn Hugo, and she is this fiery, kick-ass Cuban woman. She's now 79 years old, and she is a retired actress. And she, like the title says, she has had 7 husbands throughout her life who she's married, divorced. And now Evelyn feels like she is nearing the end of her life, and she would like Monique to write her biography. So she and Monique sit down, and she recaps basically her whole life with her, and that's pretty much what this book is. I'm about 40% through it, and I think that it is just so amazing and really surprising, and also a little bit different from the author's other books, because the other ones are kind of just lighter contemporaries. But there's a lot of discussion around female empowerment, females in the entertainment industry, especially when Evelyn was an actress back in the day, and her skin color and her sexuality. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but Evelyn does identify as bisexual, and she does use the word in the book. Again, I'm about 40% through, and I'm definitely going to finish this one up tonight or tomorrow for sure, because it's really good. So the next 2 books I got a few months ago, or several months ago, in the mail. I ordered them when my friend Brittany from Under the Radar Books, she has an Etsy store where she does blind date with a book, and she was having a sale, and I got 2 books. I did specifically request Own Voices books, but apart from that, I didn't know what they were. So these are the 2 books that I got from her. The first one is called The Water Museum by Luis Alberto Urrea, and this is a collection of short stories. I was trying to find a little bit more description about like the themes that they're about or the characters, and I couldn't really find much. But across the board on all the Goodreads reviews, it said that the writing is really beautiful and haunting and lyrical, so that is definitely something that I am looking forward to. And then the other book is called And After Many Days by Jowar Ile, and this takes place in 1995 in Nigeria. Again, I don't know too much about this, but we follow the lives of one family, and during this time there is a lot of political and civil unrest in Nigeria. Next, I have 5 books that I bought used, and I got a really great deal on all of them. They were all between like $4 to $6. One of them I bought at a used bookstore that's in my city, and then 4 of them I bought when I was at the last bookstore in LA. The first one is the one that I bought in my city, and this is called Ways to Disappear by Idra Novi. There's still a price tag on it, sorry. But this is about a Brazilian author who goes missing, and her translator goes to find her with the author's children. Idra Novi is actually a poet, and this is her first novel. So I think when I read this, I am expecting some, again, really beautiful poetic style writing, and this is definitely my favorite type of book. We have a female protagonist. It somehow involves like books and writing. There is like a mystery element, and hopefully the writing style will also be super gorgeous. And the next 4 books I did get from the last bookstore in LA. If you haven't seen like the Instagram place this like location tag, definitely look up The Last Bookstore. It's in Los Angeles. They have like the coolest setups of books. They have like this tunnel and it's all made of books, and like this little peephole and it's made of books, and you can take pictures in it. It's super aesthetic. But they also have some really great deals on books, so I did buy 4 books. The first one I believe I heard about from Book Ride, but definitely don't quote me on that. This book is called Vow of Celibacy by Erin Judge. So we have our protagonist, and her name is Natalie, and she is bisexual, she is plus size, and she works in fashion. She has also recently taken a vow of celibacy with her best friend after she had a whole bunch of like intimate one-night stands and trysts and relationships that really left her feeling emotionally unfulfilled, and she just doesn't feel great, so she did take a vow of celibacy with her friend. When I saw this, I got really excited because I remember that when I first heard about it, I couldn't find it anywhere because I think it's from Rare Bird Books, which I believe is like a small independent publisher, so I couldn't find it anywhere, so I definitely had to grab this when I saw it. From the YA section at the bookstore, I got Rani Patel in Full Effect by Sonia Patel, and this book is really cool because Sonia Patel herself is a psychiatrist, and she's also an author, and I'm like sitting here eating a peanut butter sandwich on the couch, and she is a doctor and an author. But anyways, okay, so this book is about a girl named Rani Patel, and she comes from an Indian family with really traditional values, but Rani herself is really into hip-hop music, and she's trying to defy her parents' expectations of her and become a hip-hop performer. She meets a guy and he introduces her to an underground hip-hop group, and then the story goes from there. Up next we have a book that I think is pretty popular here on BookTube, The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valenti. Okay, I did it. So I don't know, again, too much about this book. I know that a ton of people on BookTube really like it. I've heard that the writing is whimsical, it's fun, it's fantasy, it sounds like a really, really great escape book, and I can't wait to read this. And the last book that I bought at the bookstore was A Leaf the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson. G. Willow Wilson, I didn't realize this until after I bought this book, but she's also the author of the Miss Marvel graphic novel series, which I think is pretty cool. So this book takes place in some unnamed Middle Eastern security state, and we have an Arab Indian hacker whose name is Alif. He is trying to shield his clients from any type of government surveillance, but he right now is shit out of luck because his computer has been breached by the state security force, and also his girlfriend's just dumped him for another dude who is the head of the state security. He discovers this book called The 1001 Days that he thinks might help him out with like some new techie things that he might not know, and then the book takes it from there. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to some books that were very, very kindly sent to me from publishers. So first up is a book that was sent to me from Tor, and that book is Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is another Seanan McGuire book like the other one that I showed you from the library. This one is the sequel to Every Heart a Doorway, and hopefully I can start reading this one soon and have a review up for you guys for both of those books. So next we have a book from Sourcebooks Fire, and when I opened my package I had no idea what this book was, but when I read the blurb I was like, this sounds really, really dark and intense. This book is called The Dead Inside, a true story by Cindy Etler. So this is Cindy's story, and when she was 14, she was trying to escape a really violent home life, but I think she was tagged as a runaway, and then they sent her to a drug rehab facility. And this book details her time at the drug rehab facility. I think it says that there were some bizarre and intimidating methods that were used to quote-unquote treat its patients, and this is her memoir that she is reflecting on her 16 months that she spent living in the rehab facility. I think personally for me, this book is really intriguing, but also really sad because as a psych major, I really advocate for kind and compassionate treatment and like bashing stigma of mental health disorders and all of that stuff. And it makes me really sad that they are employing like bizarre and it doesn't sound like the most ethical treatment methods at this facility. I don't know, that's just what I get from reading the blurb. It might be a little premature, but I'm definitely curious about this book. So next we have a book that was sent to me from Hachette. This is an arc of a memoir that just came out on Tuesday, and this is called It's Not Yet Dark by Simon Fitzmaurice, and I did a little bit more research about the author, and he is an Irish filmmaker, and some of his films were featured at Sundance, and he was diagnosed several years ago with ALS, and that was immediately like intriguing to me because I follow this other social media personality and his dad actually passed away from ALS, and that's a topic that I unfortunately don't know very much about, but I really would like to and need to learn more about, so I'm definitely interested in reading this memoir. The next book that I have sounded also really cool. This is a book, it's also really aesthetic, but this is also a memoir. It was written by an author, so the author herself is an author, but she's reflecting on her own life. This is called Letters to Memory by Karen Tay Yamashita, and basically she is trying to learn more about her family and her ancestry because some of her family spent some time in a Japanese internment camp in Japan. So throughout this book, she consults with different professionals such as anthropologists and historians to learn more about her family background and their experience there. It covers things like civil rights and the political climate at that time and how it kind of trickled down generationally through her family and how it still affects her today. I'm just like flipping through the book right now and I see that there are like pictures and different artifacts from her life, so I definitely can't wait to read this one. I think this one comes out sometime in September of this year. And last but not least, I think this book has been pretty popular. It's been floating around a little while. This is Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. This book comes out next Tuesday, so on August 8th, and this is a YA book, and our protagonist, her name is Suzette, but some people call her Little, and she's an African-American girl, and she's still trying to figure out her sexuality and her sexual preferences. She also has a little brother whose name is Lionel, but they call him Lion, and he has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but he has stopped taking his medication, and I think most of the plot revolves around the fact that they are both interested in the same girl, and then the novel will take it from there. Okay, so we did it. We made it. We made it to the end of the haul. Please let me know down in the comments below which one of those books you personally are the most interested in. I don't even know what I say for my outro. What do I say for my outro? Please leave me any comments, questions, or anything else down below. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!